Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a bit of a book haul. It is actually not a bit of a book haul, it's a pretty big book haul. However, I only bought 2 of these books recently. There are some that I dug out of storage that I haven't seen or read in a few years, and then some that I am borrowing indefinitely from my dad. So I was just really excited about it and figured why not make some content out of it. So that is what we're doing today. We are gonna start with the ones that I dug out of storage. I may have mentioned this series before on this channel, I'm not sure. It was a series that I read probably multiple times as a kid, and it was probably the first sci-fi that I ever read. So I knew I still had them because I can't bear to get rid of them because I have emotional attachment to books. But this, I dug out the Maximum Rides series. Sorry, dropping them. I have 8 of the 9, but I honestly don't know if I ever read the 8th one. I distinctly remember them getting worse as time went on. I do want to reread them at some point. I will probably do a reading vlog of me rereading them as an adult. These are by James Patterson. Basically what they're about is this group of teenagers and their leader, kind of, the one you follow, is Maximum Ride, that's her name, and they all can fly, and they are running away from the scientists who made them, trying to find their parents. There's a little bit of romance. It's not dystopian until you get to the later books. I loved them as a kid, so I dug them out of storage. So next I'm going to show you the books that I bought. I went to Barnes & Noble with my sister last week and I bought 2 books. So the first book is The Overstory by Richard Powers, and this is classed as climate fiction on Goodreads, which is something that I hadn't really heard of before. I honestly don't really know what it's about, but it won a Pulitzer Prize. Pulitzer Prize and National Book Award winner Richard Powers' 12th novel is a sweeping, impassioned work of activism and resistance that is also a stunning evocation of and paean to the natural world. From the roots to the crown and back to the seeds, the Overstory unfolds in concentric rings of interlocking fables that range from antebellum New York to the late 20th century timber wars of the Pacific Northwest and beyond. There's a world alongside ours, vast, slow, interconnected, resourceful, magnificently inventive, and almost invisible to us. This is the story of a handful of people who learn how to see that world and who are drawn up into its unfolding catastrophe. So basically, I have a degree in environmental science, and I want to read more books that kind of lean into that and make you think. The other book I bought is a classic that I have never read, but it is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. So, in case you don't know, because I didn't, The Bell Jar chronicles the crack-up of Esther Greenwood. Brilliant, beautiful, enormously talented and successful, but slowly going under, maybe for the last time. Sylvia Plath masterfully draws the reader into Esther's breakdown with such intensity that Esther's insanity becomes completely real and even rational, as probable and accessible an experience as going to the movies. Such deep penetration into the dark and harrowing corners of the psyche is an extraordinary accomplishment that has made The Bell Jar a haunting American classic. So, waiting to read that when I'm in the right mood, because I have a feeling it'll be kind of a hard read, but like hard in a good way, if that makes sense. So next we're going into what I think is the most exciting part of this, which is I went through some of my dad's books, some, not even close to all of them. He is a big sci-fi guy, always has been. I was specifically looking for one book, so my mom pulled a bunch of my dad's book boxes out from the attic, and my dad was like, I asked and he said I could go through them if I wanted to try to find something else. I pulled out a lot of books. We're gonna start with the books that I was looking for specifically. So I was specifically looking for Dune by Frank Herbert because I recently watched the first movie, and then went to see part 2 with my little brother. We walked out of part 2 being like, it was really good, but I feel like there's a lot missing and it was kind of rushed, and that's because the books are, you know, look at how tiny this print is, and it's 500, almost 500 page book. There's a business card in here. Oh my gosh. This is my dad's old business card. That's so funny. I'm showing him that. So I pulled out Dune. It's only the first book. But then we have 2 prequel trilogies that my dad had. I don't know what they're called, but this is one of them. And this is the other. So I know nothing about these 6 books, except that my older brother was, because I was like, do you want to see what I got from Dad? He told me that they were 2 prequel trilogies. That's all I know. This book, let's see if it has a year in it. 1990. So this book, oh, that was so overexposed. 1990 this was published, so it's older than me. I'm actually gonna take a guess and say that most of these books are older than me. They smell like old books. I'm hoping you understand what I mean, like the library book smell. That's kind of what they smell like, and I love that smell. Maybe that's weird, but I do. The next ones are 3 of, but not all of, Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books. Would love for it to focus. So this one, which is Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, I don't think that's technically a part of the main series. Supposedly my dad has the rest of these books somewhere. However, even just these 3 were split between 3 different boxes of books, so I'm not holding out hope to find those anytime soon. Here's the description from Goodreads for the first book in the series. Seconds before the Earth is demolished to make way for a galactic freeway, Arthur Dent is plucked off the planet by his friend Ford Prefect, a researcher for the revised edition of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy who, for the last 15 years, has been posing as an out-of-work actor. Together, this dynamic pair begin a journey through space aided by quotes from the Hitchhiker's Guide. In a galaxy full of fellow travelers, Zaphod Beeblebrox, the 2-headed, 3-armed ex-hippie and totally out-to-lunch president of the galaxy, Trillian, Zaphod's girlfriend, formerly Trisha McMillan, whom Arthur tried to pick up at a cocktail party once upon a time zone, Marvin, a paranoid, brilliant, and chronically depressed robot, Vujigig, a former grad student who is obsessed with the disappearance of all the ballpoint pens he bought over the years. Where are these pens? Why are we born? Why do we die? Why do we spend so much time between wearing digital watches? For all the answers, stick your thumb to the stars, and don't forget to bring a towel. So it's kind of like a comedy about the end of the world and hitchhiking through the galaxy. The next book that I am borrowing indefinitely is The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. And he wrote something else. Can't remember what it was right now. All the back says is, a glimpse of things to come, a glance at the past. Here is Ray Bradbury's sometimes eerie, sometimes poetic fantasy about the colonization of Mars, the story of familiar people and familiar passions set against the incredible beauties of a new world. I don't know, it sounded good. I like the cover because orange is one of my favorite colors, and I know the author. I'm gonna look up what he wrote because it's like he wrote a really famous book, and I feel so stupid for not remembering what it is right now. I think it's Fahrenheit 451. It was Fahrenheit 451. I was right. Okay, good for me. The next one in my stack is The Long Tomorrow by Lee Brackett. So the back of this reads, 2 generations after the destruction, capital D, rumors persisted about a secret desert hideaway where scientists worked with dangerous machines and where men plotted to revive the cities. Almost a continent away, Len Coulter heard whisperings that fired his imagination. Then one day, he found a strange wooden box. I kind of like that all of the blurbs on these are so vague. I don't know what I'm getting into. I have no idea. And I'm kind of excited for it. This was another author whose name I recognized from research I've done on science fiction lately. Next is one that I had heard of. This one is A Canticle for Leibowitz by Walter M. Miller Jr. It is a Hugo Award-winning novel, which the Hugo Awards are science fiction fantasy awards, and the back of this reads, "By the time of the 32nd century, the atomic flame deluge was over, the earth was dead, all knowledge was gone. In a hellish, barren desert, a humble monk unearths a fragile link to 20th century civilization. A handwritten document from the blessed St. Leibowitz that reads, 'Pound pastrami, can kraut, 6 bagels, bring home for Emma.'" That's it. Do you see what I mean? The blurbs are so vague. Next is The War of the Worlds, try saying that 5 times fast, and The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, who, these are this classic. H.G. Wells is a huge name in sci-fi. So the back of this reads, "Although they are valued for sheer narrative excitement and suspense in the tradition of Poe, and for astonishing prophecy and realistic fantasy as inventive as Verne's, the stories of H.G. Wells are emphatically and frighteningly underscored by his self-avowed intent to shatter, in quotes, that serene confidence in the future which is the most abundant source of decadence," end quote. The Martian's descent in The War of the Worlds, 1898, with its savagery and welter of atrocities, systematically blasted the peak of self-satisfaction that England achieved during the 19th century. The Time Machine, 1895, Wells' first book, also projected the consequences of self-indulgence through the flaccid future children of light who are horribly subsumed by Morlocks, their drudging, monstrously cruel counterparts. Wells thought the immediate collective madness of the War of the Worlds the best introduction to his works, and so here it proceeds the glittering ironies of its futuristic companion. England's 19th century smuggery may well have been assaulted, but this century, well on the way to Wells's worlds, may shudder too, simply by turning the pages of this book. Something about the way that was written, the words that are used, I don't know. I miss when we talked like that. Next is The Great Train Robbery by Michael Crichton, who wrote Jurassic Park. So the back reads, "In teeming Victorian London, where lavish wealth and appalling poverty live side by side, one mysterious man navigates both worlds with perfect ease. Rich, handsome, and ingenious, Edward Pierce charms the most prominent of the well-to-do as he cunningly orchestrates the crime of his century. Who would suspect that a gentleman of breeding could mastermind the daring theft of a fortune in gold? Who could predict the consequences of committing the extraordinary robbery aboard the pride of England's industrial era, the mighty steam locomotive? Based on fact, as lively as legend, and studded with all the suspense and style of Michael Crichton at his best, here is a classic caper novel set a decade before the age of dynamite, yet explosive nonetheless." But it sounded fun. It's like a little mystery set on a train in Victorian London. Next, I have a stack of books by quite possibly one of the most famous sci-fi authors ever, and that is Isaac Asimov. So these are the books that I picked up from my dad. Most of this is, so iRobot is, the movie is based on this book. And it's a standalone, I think. There might be a sequel. I only have this one. So the back reads, "Here is Isaac Asimov's famous science fiction classic, iRobot. What do you do with a drunken robot? You may not believe it, but robots have problems too, just like humans. In these mind-spinning tales, Isaac Asimov brings us an astonishing and delightful vision of a tomorrow filled with marvels and miracles, of computers in human form so incredibly real you cannot tell the man from the machine without a scorecard." I picked it up because I recognized the title. I can't even say I picked it up because I recognized the author's name. My dad had so many Isaac Asimov books, so I swear to God he had like every single one. I did ask him afterwards if he had all of them. He was like, probably. The other books that I picked up by Isaac Asimov. How am I? If I've been pronouncing that wrong this whole time, I'm gonna be so embarrassed. Is the Foundation series, which there's 5 books. I think this is the whole series, but this is the first 3 books in one. And then This is the 4th book, and this is the 5th. So, I don't actually know what these are about at all. I just recognize the name again. Alright, so the back reads, A thousand-year epic, a galactic struggle, a monumental work in the annals of science fiction. Foundation begins a new chapter in the story of a man's future. As the old empire crumbles into barbarism throughout the million worlds of the galaxy, Hari Seldon and his band of psychologists must create a new entity, the Foundation, dedicated to art, science, and technology, as the beginning of a new empire. I have one more book. This is the one that I'm probably the most excited about. I don't know why. But I was looking for this from the library, but it's really hard to find some of these older books that are not like illustrated copies or somehow changed a little bit. So it's hard to tell like what exactly kind of edition it is. So this is A Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne, which is a classic. You should recognize that title. I recently rewatched the movie with Brendan Fraser and Josh Hutcherson. Let me fact check myself real quick. Yep, it was Josh Hutcherson. Okay, perfect. It's a silly movie. It's supposed to be funny. It's not supposed to be serious at all, I don't think. But I really liked it because I, at the time, would watch anything Brendan Fraser was in. I would still watch anything Brendan Fraser is in. That was like peak Brendan Fraser, I feel like, was around that time. When I rewatched it, I decided, I already knew I wanted to read the book, but then I was like, I really want to read the book now because I forgot how much I loved this movie. Like, it's silly and kind of dumb, but it's fun, and I really like it. The back of this book reads, The father of science fiction storms the very structure of our Earth and exposes its secrets with unnerving credibility. An old parchment discloses a secret passage through a volcano to the center of the Earth, and 3 men are intrigued into an adventure which means certain death if science holds true. Though Jules Verne wrote this story over 100 years ago, few writers have matched it for excitement and conviction. This book was $2. Do you see that? Can you imagine paying $2 for a book? These 2 books that I just bought, granted, this one's like huge. This was $18. Anyway, I've been really wanting to read more science fiction. It's been something that I've been like looking into and trying to find what I think I would like. And I'm really excited to have easy access to some classics. That's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me know if you have read any of these books or wanted to read any of these books and what you thought of any that you have read. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you want to see more. And I will see you all next time. Love you, bye.